A painting sold recently for just $550. Not a print, not a reproduction, an oil painting nearly 6 feet tall, signed and dated 1853 by Bass Otis, one of the more important American portrait painters of the early 19th century. At first glance, the price seems surprising, but the painting comes with a complication. It's a copy. The portrait depicts Thomas Amory II, a wealthy Boston merchant from colonial New England. The original was painted about 80 years earlier by John Singleton Copley, the artist many historians consider the greatest portrait painter in colonial America. Imagine the scene. Amory stands confidently in a dark coat, carefully dressed, his posture relaxed but dignified. Every detail communicates status and self-assurance. It's exactly the kind of portrait that helped define how successful Americans wanted to be remembered before the Revolution. Today, the original hangs in the National Gallery of Art. But when Bass Otis painted his version in 1853, the Copley was still in private hands, owned by descendants of the Amory family. That raises an interesting question. Why would someone commission a copy of a portrait that already existed? Today we often think of copies as second best. In the 19th century, people saw them differently. Artists routinely copied masterworks as part of their training. Wealthy families commissioned copies when they wanted additional versions of important portraits. Historical societies collected them. Copies helped preserve images before photography made reproduction easy. In a sense, a painted copy was a way of keeping history alive. And that's what makes this portrait interesting. The painting isn't simply about Thomas Amory. It's also about how Americans in the 1850s looked back at their colonial past. By then, the revolution was long over. The nation was expanding rapidly. Yet families still wanted connections to earlier generations. Portraits served as visual links to ancestors, accomplishments, and family identity. Bass Otis himself understood that world. Born in 1784, just after the Revolution, he became a successful portrait painter in Philadelphia. He's even credited with producing what is often called America's first lithograph. Yet today, he's largely forgotten outside specialist circles. The recent sale reflects that. Many collectors recognize Copley's name immediately. Far fewer know Bass Otis. But perhaps market prices don't tell the entire story. As the United States marks its 250th anniversary, Americans are once again looking back at the colonial era and the nation's founding years. Objects like this remind us that every generation has done the same thing. The people of the 1850s were already preserving and interpreting the America that came before them. That's what this portrait really represents. It's a copy of an 18th century painting, but it's also a historical artifact in its own right. It tells us how 19th century Americans remembered their past, what they valued, and what they chose to preserve. For $550, the buyer acquired more than a portrait of a long-forgotten merchant. They acquired a glimpse into America's ongoing conversation with its own history. Compare the paintings and uncover the full story at urbanartantiques.com.